Welcome to another edition of the Sundown series where today we will be talking about Corbin, Kentucky. But this is going to be a very special one because I found some information about this place outside of the usual stuff that I bring to you about the other towns. It turns out that the reason why this town is become a sundown town, or at one time it was because of something that happened back in 1919. There was a race riot. There was literally called the Corbin, Kentucky riot of 1919. Like, that's what it's called. So I'm going to go ahead and read this and see what we find out. Corbin, Kentucky race riot of 1990 was a race riot in 1919 in which a white mob forced nearly all of the town's 200 black residents onto a freight train out of town in a sundown policy until the late 20th century. On October 29th, 1919, two men robbed and stabbed A.F. Thompson before escaping without him getting a good look. Thompson was able to stumble to a nearby house and get help. Word quickly spread about the crime and that the attackers were two black men. On October 31st, 1919, an enraged and armed white mob made up of hundreds of Corbin's townspeople organized and went house to house, rounding up black residents. When they felt that all of the African Americans of the town had been gathered, the mob marched a group of approximately 200 men, women, and children to the train station and herded them onto the cramped rail cars. The train departed with its human cargo and were sent south of town to Knoxville. They swore to us and said, "By God, we are going to run all you Negroes out of this town tonight," said longtime black Corbin resident John Turner in a signed affidavit about the incident. This uprising was one of several incidents of civil unrest that began with the American Red Summer in April 1919, terrorist attacks on black communities and white oppression in over 36 cities and counties. In most cases, white mobs attacked African American neighborhoods. In some cases, black community groups resisted the attacks, especially in Chicago and Washington, D.C. However, more deaths occurred in rural areas during events like the Elaine race riot in Arkansas, where an estimated 100 to 240 black people were also killed. Also in 1919 were the Chicago race riot and the Washington, D.C. race riot, in which 38 and 39 people respectively were killed. Both events also had many more non-fatal injuries and extensive property damage reaching up to the millions of dollars. Trouble Behind, a documentary by Robbie Henson that came out in 1991, examines the history and legacy of racism in Corbin, Kentucky, a small railroad community noteworthy both as the home of Colonel Sanders' Kentucky Fried Chicken and for its race riots of 1919, during which over 200 blacks were loaded onto boxcars and shipped out of town. The film aired at the 1991 Sundance Film Festival and was nominated for the Grand Jury Prize. And for those of you who don't know what the Grand Jury Prize is, that's like the biggest award that anybody can be nominated for and or win at the Sundance Film Festival. So I just learned something new today. Well, first, I didn't even know a place called Corbin, Kentucky even existed. I've never been to Kentucky, but I do know people who are from there. And Kentucky just gives those vibes. You know what vibes I'm talking about. But there were a lot of race riots that occurred during that time, or a lot that happened outside of course, Black Wall Street. But this that Black Wall Street seems to be the one that gets the most attention because of the bomb droppings and whatnot. But there were other ones that occurred throughout history, like this one and that one, and it was just devastating, to see how it was. And all this because of 200 black residents. When one did something wrong, all of them had to be taken out or removed. Now, it's interesting. They said that they put them on the cars and the railroad cars and they just made sure that they left. It sounds to me like they didn't exactly go there with the intent to kill them, but they probably would have if any of the black people there resisted. They just wanted to see them, leave, and they sent them to Knoxville. And I actually know somebody who I went to school with who's from Knoxville. I wonder if they're familiar with this story. But this pretty much concludes this edition of the Sundown series. This was Corbin, Kentucky. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure to text the number that is pinned down in the comments below so you can receive notifications every time I upload a new video.